They are among the largest creatures on our planet. Wanderers of the oceans. We love them and even revere them. Whales are intelligent and social. But when they get too close to our shores, their lives can change dramatically. The North American Pacific coast, from California in the south to Washington State and Canada in the north, with the cities Seattle and Vancouver. Here is the Salish Sea, an enormous bay with numerous islands. Florian Grana, a German wildlife filmmaker, found a home from home on Whidbey Island. The marine biologist moved here many years ago. The area right in front of his doorstep is particularly attractive. Whenever he finds the time, Florian slips into the water here and is immediately in one of his favorite diving spots. Another advantage is the fact that he doesn't have to carry his heavy camera far and can dive straight into the sea. The tides have created a very special environment here, a first-class diving area complete with octopuses, grey whales and orcas. The biologist hopes to meet one of these giants in the depths. Hardly submerged, he encounters a stellar sea lion. The largest of all eared seals are fond of squid and are aware of the special prey they can make here. Octopuses. Some are more than 5, others over 7 meters long. Florian is thrilled. Now he knows where to find a giant octopus in the future. A successful dive that ends with Seattle as a big city backdrop. From the largest city in America's northwest, it's not far to Deception Pass, a strait that leads out of the narrow fjords onto the islands in the Gulf, where Florian wants to film orcas. 3 family groups live here, a total of almost 90 whales. The researchers know each and every one of them. The skilled hunters are searching for schools of fish. The Puget Sound orcas are the world's most comprehensively studied killer whales. Elsewhere, however, whales continue to puzzle scientists. Florian receives some alarming news from Europe.
The animal was still alive when it washed up and could be seen breathing.
In January 2016, 30 distressed sperm whales stranded on the North Sea coast.
This is the whale desperately fighting for survival. High tide is approaching here at Hunstanton. And the hope is that that tide will be deep enough.
Florian wants to know what forced the giants into the shallow North Sea.
You can't save it, but it did move a little. It's sad seeing a sperm whale in its final death throes.
The media reports are worrying. On the German, Dutch, English and French coasts, people watch helplessly as the still young whale bulls die in agony. Why? People are deeply touched by the death of the sperm whales. To get more information, Florian decides to travel to Europe.
How many more sperm whales have died in the shallow North Sea? They were apparently en route from the north to the Atlantic, but got lost and took a fatal wrong turn toward the North Sea.
Why did they get lost in the North Sea? Scientists believe that the noise emanating from offshore parks could be to blame for the animals losing their sense of orientation. Some researchers have also observed that just before whales stranded, a solar flare had taken place.
There are many theories. One takes Florian to the Zoological Museum in Kiel, northern Germany. Dr. Uwe Piatkowski researches the animals that the sperm whale hunts by scanning its prey while emitting sound waves into the depths. Giant squids, some as big as the predators themselves, are like a Sunday roast for sperm whales. They usually prefer smaller cuttlefish, but masses of them. The whales that died in January 2016 have been examined. They were neither sick nor starved. Thousands of cuttlefish beaks were found in the whales' stomachs. Uwe Piatkowski's team sorts the beaks according to species. The ensuing evidence leads further north.
These animals actually concentrate on one species of squid, known as Gonatus fabrici, a squid prevalent in huge quantities in the Norwegian Sea. The sperm whales migrate to the north to feed on these stocks. We know this as 99.9% of the prey we found in their stomachs was of this species.
The sperm whale is the world's largest predator. A hurricane may have forced the squid from the Arctic Circle to the North Sea, and the hunters simply followed their prey.
The storm pushed the warm water masses in here, as indicated by the yellow arrow.
The storm front caused temperatures of around 0 degrees in the Arctic. This unusual warmth reached the North Sea. Did the whales also follow the warm currents? But northern squid drifting into the North Sea should also have been caught by fishermen there. In addition, the beaks found in the whale stomachs were already several weeks old.
The sperm whales definitely didn't feed on the squid in the North Sea. They migrated into the North Sea for other reasons. This winter was different. There was a warm north wind bringing water masses with it, which perhaps took the whales in its wake, and they thought they were in a southbound water mass.
A rare weather situation disoriented the whales. This would also explain strandings in past centuries.
This is nothing new.
Even back then, people stood, fixated by the sight of these giants, and searched for the causes of death. And now we find evidence that incriminates ourselves.
The most shocking thing was the amount of plastic found in the whales' stomachs. This is part of a car, a bumper perhaps. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a black part that belongs to a car.
And that was also in the stomach?
Yeah, that was in the stomach. Here you can see a typical net that could have caused the whale's death. Another speculation, if one whale feels poorly, the others remain. They want to be with each other and die a communal death.
The bulls were on their way to the equator, where the cows live with their calves, in the Caribbean, around the Azores and the Canaries, and in the Mediterranean. In Europe's favorite bathtub, German wildlife filmmaker Thomas Behrendt is on the trail of the rare ocean giants. Together with sperm whale expert Alexandros Francis, he cruises Greek waters.
You know, almost everybody I told about going to the Mediterranean to see sperm whales was laughing about me. But they are here, aren't they?
Yes, of course they are. And we get the same reaction when we say that we are studying sperm whales in the Mediterranean. However,
but if I look to the Mediterranean, which is comparably shallow and small, can it really host sperm whales?
Yes, of course it can, because the Mediterranean is not so shallow. We are very close to the deepest point of the Mediterranean, which is 5,125 meters. It's a lot. And all along the Hellenic Trench, this is what we find. The most important for the sperm whales, it's not the depth, it's the steep slope at the end of the continental shelf. This is important for them. We will go all along the Hellenic Trench, and hopefully, practically certain that we will find sperm whales.
Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Then, on the horizon,
I saw some splash over there.
Oh, yeah. Here, there. Yeah.
Can you see dolphins? Certainly dolphins.
Okay.
and they are interested in the boat. Time and again, dolphins cross the path of the sperm whale expedition. This group even has some babies on board. There's a lot of traffic in the Med. This makes it difficult to search for sperm whales with an underwater microphone.
It's too noisy, too much noise.
You hear the propellers?
Yeah, you can listen.
And this is all from this tanker ship there?
Yeah, just from this boat. And you see where it is over there. Sperm whales are becoming deaf, and the problem is that the collisions of vessels with sperm whales is increasing rapidly. Look here. All these are sperm whales. You can see the propeller marks. They are huge. Yeah. Actually, almost the entire sperm whale is cut in pieces. You can imagine if you have a population of just 200 animals, and more than one per year is disappearing by a purely anthropogenic cause, then the impact to the population is big. It's probably not sustainable.
Then, at last,
Low, over there.
Alexandros has discovered 8 whales. Thomas gets into position.
They're really speeding. The entire group traveling so fast.
Can you see the little one?
We don't understand why.
After a few kilometers, the whales abruptly apply the brakes. Do the females simply want to mate as normal?
Thomas, you made me right. Prepare your...
Thomas has been eagerly waiting for this moment.
When you are ready, let me know.
Now it's there at last. There are many animals very close to the boat. Thomas approaches the group with caution. But the whales are busy and in no mood to pander to visitors. No one has noticed that a baby sperm whale has just been born. Curious, it heads straight for the camera. Mother and aunt are not amused and threaten the intruder. The females must bring the baby to the surface for it to breathe. Then they also have to fend off perceived enemies. Should he be hit by a fin, the filmmaker would stand no chance of survival.
Come on the boat, quickly!
Several sperm whales now join the pursuit.
Straight ahead, now!
Thomas swims as fast as he can. Maintaining a distance of 1 meter, the whales hunt down the filmmaker.
Quickly, help him out!
While the team pulls Thomas out of the water, the camera keeps running.
The current swept me right in there, close to the baby. It was really dangerous.
Thomas was very fortunate.
One of them had its teeth around my leg. A horrible situation.
Can you see the newborn that has the fin?
Yes, yes, yes.
In the middle, they are protecting it.
Yeah.
The newborn's flippers are still soft and pliable. It can hardly swim on its own.
Quickly, fetch the video camera.
It really looks for support, huh, Alexandra?
Yeah.
The newborn is doing well. It has only just arrived, yet weighs around a ton and is already 4 meters long. It will still take another 1 or 2 years before it can eat on its own. Whale conservationists are also on hand in the Caribbean. Florian joins forces with Wilfried and Andrea Steffen. They are aware of the problems whales have to face there.
When we started out around 25 years ago, we monitored roughly 10 different families with some 60 whales. Today, we have about 30 or 20. We have a major problem with the increasing shipping, with the high-speed ferries. This is unfortunately getting worse, and we register a very high mortality rate among young animals. So the population has little chance of regenerating.
Anyone traveling the sea with 5,000 horsepower and speeds of over 40 miles per hour risks killing whales. Heartbreaking deaths close to holiday paradises.
This large white spot on the back is an open wound and can lead to a stiffening of the vertebrae that could prevent the whale from diving, which means he will starve to death. Yes, you can see it very clearly here.
This picture was taken in the Azores.
Here one can see just how bad it is when a sperm whale is involved in a collision with a ship. This animal has literally been torn to pieces. One can see the incisions caused by the ship's propellers. This whale definitely didn't survive the collision.
No.
What can we do?
You ask what we can do? Set up protected zones and prohibit high-speed ferries from passing through them. Make them bypass such areas widely so that shipping traffic really is diverted.
Ferries plough recklessly through the seas almost everywhere. The North Sea is the habitat of the roughly 2-meter-long harbour porpoise. But here too, the world of the whales looks more like an industrial district. Life in the seas is seemingly forced to take place on the edge of shipping highways, around oil rigs and always under pressure from the fishing industry. Noise levels are increasing dramatically. Whales, seals and fish suffer. The island of Heligoland becomes a nature haven, both for grey seals and harbour porpoises. Florian Graner wrote his doctoral thesis on the small whales. Harbour porpoises are the only whale species native to the German Baltic and North Seas. On a whale scale, they are tiny, yet still need almost 5 kilograms of food daily. Equipped with biosonar, they create an acoustic picture of their environment which enables them to hunt herrings, also at night and in the most murky of waters. But despite this seventh sense, it's not easy being a harbour porpoise. On his last visit to Heligoland, Florian made a disturbing discovery.
No, the whale is dead.
But just what killed the young harbour porpoise?
You often see net marks up here, across the back. But this is not the case here. This whale looks totally emaciated to me. You can see muscles and bones. Normally, the body should be completely round. It's such a pity. What a beautiful animal.
Noise is dangerous for porpoises. And grey seals switch from fish to meat. Porpoise carcasses lie strewn across the beach. Harbour seals are also washed ashore. The grey seals decimate their competition. Their stocks have increased, but food is limited. They appear to be playful. But those teeth command respect. The fish hunters use them to grab the biggest catch. When grey seals kill and eat their competitors, and even their own pups, this could mean that food supplies are not enough for everyone. The sea is all about food and survival, simply because we humans leave too little behind for others. Whether in the North Sea or the Baltic, porpoise numbers are dwindling at an alarming rate. Whale watching on Flensburg Fjord. Initiated by Dagmar Struss from the NABU Nature Conservation Union.
There are many people who do all they can to protect whales in general, but no one seems to care that we have threatened whales in Germany too. And I think there is no nicer way of making something public than by experiencing it yourself.
Captain Hansen knows where to find whales.
Port here, port abeam, distance 50 metres.
There he is, heading straight for us. On the one hand, it's beautiful watching porpoises in the summer months, as the mothers are then out with their calves. But on the other hand, it's a tragedy, as there are gill nets so close to the shore. And gill nets are the main cause of death for harbour porpoises.
Shortly afterwards, this porpoise calf is washed ashore. EU laws also demand whale protection, so the fishermen in Schleswig-Holstein reduced the use of gill nets for 2 months. But this voluntary agreement isn't enough. As people still want their fish, Flensburg's fishermen use new technology to save whales. A transmitter attached to the nets emits the porpoises' warning calls and ostensibly reduces the number of dead whales by 70%.
We hope that we don't catch any at all.
Have you ever caught one before?
No. Colleagues, of course, have. I was just lucky enough not to. And I hope it stays that way. And when this promises success, well, that would be great for us all. And I want my children and grandchildren to see porpoises too once I've passed on and I'm pushing up the daisies.
Exactly.
And this is why we all take part as best we can. Each one we don't catch is fine by me.
The success of the technology must be scientifically documented, but this has so far not been planned. Florian hopes it will work. But why do so many animals fail to see the nets? Florian examines it from a whale's perspective. Biologist Veit Henning is also on board. And a diver from the Flensburg Fire Service. The net barely reflects sound, but the whales can locate it. As long as noise doesn't drown out their signal, or their hearing is already too impaired. The whales hunt close to the seabed, as there are hardly any shoaling fish left. They do so by sending signals downwards, yet overlook the danger ahead. This hunting on the bottom could be the explanation for why so many whales die horrible deaths in the nets. A diver can free himself, but a whale would simply drown. Fire service diver Stefan Thomsen experiences something he'll never forget.
I was in Thailand and planned to film mantas, perhaps whale sharks. Then I came back. Monday, work begins.
As usual, he took a dip in the fjord.
Yes, I went down into the shipping channel. It was really deep and then suddenly came across mud clouds.
Unusual.
Yeah, you don't usually have that. And I turned around and went back a bit. That was a bit strange. Then all of a sudden, 2 dolphins are heading straight toward me. Here. What a surprise. And I just said to myself, no, this can't be true. God, blimey.
After this, Stefan Thomsen spends every spare moment with the bottlenose dolphins.
And then this feeling when they turn onto their side to take a good look at you. And you look them right into the eyes. It goes straight through your body. And you get goosebumps.
They're extremely curious.
Then they swim around you slowly just to take a look. What is he? Do we know him? At least that's what you imagine they're thinking.
And how big was the larger animal? 3 meters?
Yeah, 3 meters 50.
I mean, that is quite a chunk.
It is a chunk.
How do you feel when it comes right at you with such speed?
What I'm trying to say is it's pretty impressive. I won't say that it's frightening, but it is respect. If an animal like that rammed you, you wouldn't have a chance.
Bottlenose dolphins do ram harbour porpoises. This is well known.
When the pair of them were in the inner fjord, there were no further sightings.
No harbour porpoises?
No porpoises. And this was very conspicuous. When the dolphins were gone, definitely gone. But porpoises, they were back again.
The 2 dolphins chased away and killed porpoises, perhaps because they are both after the scarce food. Why these 2 approached humans remains a mystery. Whales very often get lost in the Baltic Sea. A very rare wanderer came into Mecklenburg Bay back in October 2015. a Sowerby's beaked whale, which belongs to the least studied of all beaked whales we know. Its usual habitat is in the northern Atlantic and sometimes the North Sea. The 3.5-metre-long female lost its way in the Baltic. They kept jumping out of the water, which is a sign of stress. Normally, they dive to depths of around 1,000 meters to hunt for squid. The animal simply couldn't find its way out of the shallow Baltic Sea and starved to death. The female came from the north, where the Baltic and the North Sea are connected. Even larger whales have migrated here. This has often been the case. Thousands made their way to the Flensburg Fjord when, back in 1911, a fin whale stranded here. People even paid admission. In 1898, a fin whale was hunted off Eckenförde. In 1861, 150 false killer whales got lost in the Baltic. To this day, whales still appear off our coast.
Humpback whales rarely stray into the Flensburg Fjord, and now there were two at once. That's a sensation, which we already reported yesterday. An orca on Zoot. No one here can believe that. A former seal hunter witnessed.
The fin whale sighted yesterday in Eckenförde and in Flensburg stranded in Denmark today. The Valor Fire Brigade has been working day and night to make sure that
the whales enter the Baltic Sea from the North Atlantic via the Kattegat, through narrow passageways into the large inland sea. From the bridge, it's possible to observe porpoises while hunting. A mother with her calf. Florian has a date. Danish whale expert Dr. Carl Kinse wants to show him the bay where the Royal Porpoise Hunters Guild once rounded up and then killed the whales.
In the good old days, about 2,000, sometimes 3,000 per season. Throughout the entire 19th century, it must have been 100,000.
100,000?
100,000 porpoises. Here's a picture from 1870, when they also killed 49 bottlenose dolphins.
On one day?
On one day, here in the bay.
Up to World War II, whales were used to make margarine. The Fjord and Belt Centre in Kerteminde, Denmark. These porpoises were freed from nets. Jakob Christensen has trained them to study their hearing. Here, Florian can finally film porpoises underwater and record their clicking noises. Jakob thinks these smallest of all whales are more intelligent than dolphins, and even prettier. This porpoise proves that it doesn't need its eyes for a few sprats. Ostensibly, he can't see anything, but he can see more. He scans using sound signals, and their reflections shape images in his brain. The better he wants to see, the higher he raises the frequency. Come right away, said the researcher from Aarhus University on the phone. A whale has swum into a type of fyke net that catches and keeps fish alive. When something like this occurs, fishermen report it to whale researcher Dr. Jonas Teilman. The net is carefully closed.
Vi skal helst have den ned til langt med båden, hvis vi kan det.
Florian helps where he can. It's a large animal.
Okay, they go.
The whale has slight injuries, but Dr. Timon is worried about something else.
It's actually, it's a very large one, but it's very thin.
Well, can we come over here? Okay.
Data is rapidly gathered. Then comes the most important part. A multi-sensor that measures and stores all that the animal experiences, when and where it is, which signals it sends and which ones it hears, the noise levels it has to endure when it hunts and when it takes a rest. The high-tech unit is attached to the animal by suction cups and will document its life for 3 days. As soon as the cups loosen, the black box is located and evaluated.
All right.
Jonas is relieved.
Well, that's good. Very calm animal. One thing we've looked at is the foraging behavior, because foraging, you know, is the basic thing of an animal's life. If you don't get anything to eat, you die. So one of our main thing was to see how much are these animals foraging and how do they actually do it. Now with this small tag we can actually hear all the vocalization going out and hear all the echoes coming back. And we can even have echoes from small fish. And the very new thing is that we can see what size of fish that this animal is actually going for.
When and where does the whale catch how many fish?
This is one animal, and this is a 3D plot. You can see the animal is going down now, and you can see the depth here. It's down to 16 meters, circling around. And every time you can hear.
I can hear. That's the feeding butts, right?
Where it catches a fish, and that way we can actually see that these animals catch mainly fish of 5 to 10 centimeters. So these are really small fish.
Wow.
And they need about 500 of these an hour to be able to sustain their condition. If they are disturbed in the middle of this, because this is the important area and they are scared out of this area, then they may not find an alternative area, and that's where you really have the problem. It is small fish and you need a lot, and therefore you cannot take too much disturbance. We have another video, a fast ferry with about 35 knots, so it's much faster than a porpoise can swim. It's too fast to escape by swimming away from it. So it actually takes the last breath now. And that was the decision to go to the bottom and hide. And this is what we see now. Now it goes down, it's at 5 meters now, goes further down. The ship becomes really easy to hear now. You see, this is the ship coming in, and now it starts going all the way up to 250 kilohertz. So that's the whole hearing range of the animal. And now it's at the bottom at 20 meters. Now we can hear that the noise goes down and the animal returns to the surface.
So that's like a clear evidence of avoiding behavior.
Yeah. We see a clear effect that when the noise level goes up at a certain level, they stop foraging.
Whales that can't hunt simply starve.
But maybe our research can help understand that this is an issue. I guess you can reduce it potentially by changing the propellers of ships, changing the speed in certain areas where we know there's a lot of porpoises, or avoiding traffic. So just let the boats move around or give them some peace in areas where it's really important for them.
Dr. Timon's work and the hearing research in Get.nature also receives funding from Germany. Dr. Magnus Wahlberg examines the whale's hearing and how it reacts and suffers from noise. The electrodes are connected to his computer. Like an EEG, they test the brain's reaction to specific stimuli. The animal has learned to remain calm at the breakpoint, while Valberg emits a sound in the water, thereby recording the whale's brainwave response.
Sending. And stop. They do react, and their hearing also is affected by it. And some of those noise sources, like pile driving when you build wind farms, they can go on for days or,
Is there a real concern that we've increased the noise in the environment so much that it's actually really affecting their survival?
Yes, definitely. And you start to see that on a lot of species of whales. The most famous examples are sonars that are actually killing whales. Oil exploration is also a big concern. I mean, these are massive activities. This is a boat towing hundreds, or even in some cases maybe thousands loudspeakers. So it is really having a huge impact on that environment. We can definitely measure that the noise levels of the oceans is steadily increasing. And of course, at some point, that will make it unbearable to these animals. We can definitely do some of the initial trials that are needed to then understand the situation out in the real world.
The whales live in the age of speedboats, on boat highways and next to construction sites. They live in the line of fire of deadly military sonar, from oil prospectors' sonic cannons and other explosions, representative of mankind's progress. For many harbour porpoises, this is the end of the line. For decades, he has defied any danger. Now, his carrion scent is luring hagfish out of their hideaways, fish that were around before the dinosaurs. Within a few weeks, they will have eaten the entire porpoise. At the Little Belt in Denmark, students of a Baltic Sea ecology seminar, together with Florian Grana and lecturer Veit Hennig, experience a largely intact world.
There's a porpoise up ahead, and it's just jumped. Look here, 3 of them, close to one another.
Here too there are nets and frequent shipping, but in moderation.
Oh, there are 4 of them.
A sound receiver has recorded whale signals that now have to be analysed. High-tech helps in understanding the animal's behaviour and problems. For Florian and Veit, scientific fact is a sharp sword in the battle against the ruthless exploitation of the habitats of all marine animals, of which the whales are just the largest and most conspicuous. Florian wants to go from whence the whales came, that beached on the coasts of the North and Baltic Sea. He wants to dive at the Arctic Circle, where the deep sea meets with the continent. Just off Norway's Vesterålen Islands, behind the Andenes lighthouse, is the so-called Nordic Sea, where whalers once almost wiped out the sperm whale. Florian is accompanied by biologist Veit Hennig. Florian knows the rugged coast of Norway. The marine biologist has dived there for many years himself. In winter, an incredible natural spectacle occurs there. The orcas know that herrings consider the fjords to be an ideal resting place. The fish gather there before moving on to their spawning grounds off the coast. but they don't find the peace they had hoped for. The orcas follow the huge schools of herring. They communicate with a series of squeaky and clicking sounds, driving the fish in front of them until they form an ideally compact shoal. The orca family manages to drive the herrings over the sandbank into shallow water. The rest is easy. A large bull approaches the herrings, lays on its side and hits out at the school with its fluke. A female approaches from the other side. The blow has either killed or stunned dozens of herrings, enabling the killer whales to collect their prey in their own time. The bull with the massive pectoral fins is 8 meters long. He has to eat around 100 kilograms of fish a day, which means about 200 herrings. With so much on offer, no problem at all. When comparing the amounts of herring that humans procure from the water, killer whales' prey fades into insignificance. Countless fish lie dead on the seabed or just drift around in the fjord. Seabirds, like herring gulls, tend to follow large marine mammals when they migrate. This is where the scavengers get their pennies worth. Florian and Veit leave in search of sperm whales off the coast. Florian would love to dive with one of these loners if given the chance. Of course, they're scientists, but what drives them on is the challenge of the unknown. Waiting for a sign from the deep. A microphone is attached to the bottom of the boat. Tense moments.
I think something's there. Something's there. Coming closer.
It's like flying over a canyon.
Very close.
Florian gets ready.
Could be that he shows up. Do you want to try?
Yep.
Suspense mounts. How will the sperm whale react? They hope that it will lie calmly on the surface while breathing. But will it? The giant approaches. Veit would now rather be next to Florian. He lies precisely on the course of the whale. "20 meters long and a weight of 60 tons. As big as a double-decker bus. Florian will later describe the feeling as being in awe. The whale comes ever closer and scans Florian with its sonar. Then it dives. In the wake of a giant, Florian has to get back and carefully avoid the 4-meter width of its fluke. Just why are whales so friendly toward humans? After all we've done to them. Florian and Veit know only too well. Our continents are simply islands in their seas. Seas that we pollute and fill up with rubbish and noise. Of all the animals on our planet, the whales are among the most mysterious creatures, even for scientists. The whalers were unable to wipe them out. But we could.